everyone. In today's class, we shall be covering only two types of pronouns, reflexive pronouns and emphatic pronouns. The rest of the pronouns, we've already covered them in our previous video, kinds of pronouns. So why are we covering only these two pronouns today? Because the reflexive pronouns and emphatic pronouns are special. And why do we call them special? Because these two pronouns, these categories are represented by the same set of pronouns. Both reflexive and emphatic pronouns are all these: myself, yourself, himself, herself, itself. And these are all singular. And the plural, ourselves, yourselves and themselves. But we have to use it differently. They may be the same, but the usage is different. So, what is the difference between them? When do we use them? And most importantly, how do we find out in a sentence which is an emphatic pronoun and which is a reflexive pronoun? So, watch the video right till the end so that all your doubts and all your confusions are absolutely clear. So, let's begin. Reflexive pronouns, they come from the word reflect. And reflect means anything which comes back. Like when you see yourself in a mirror, you are seeing your own image. So they are the same. In the same way, in a reflexive pronoun, in the sentence that is there, the action that is there, that is reflected back onto the subject. Now, what do we mean by they are reflected back? That means the subject, the doer, the one who is doing the subject, and the one on whom the action is being done, they are the same. Action reflected on the subject. Now this will be clear from this example that we have. I hurt myself on the broken tile. I is the subject over here. Hurt myself. Now wherever you see self, selves, that means first of all short. This is either a reflexive pronoun or an emphatic pronoun. But let's see how it becomes reflexive. Now, this action that is there, hurt. Who has been hurt or who has got hurt? The subject only. So, I is the subject, myself is the pronoun, and the action that is there, hurt, that is again coming back to the subject. This is the meaning of the action is reflected on the subject. I hurt myself on the broken tile. Let us take this. The cat. Subject is the cat. Licked. Licked is the action. Reflexive pronoun itself. Now the action of licking, that the cat is licking itself. Whom is licking? Itself. So the action that is there, this is again coming back on the subject. So this itself that is there, this is the reflexive pronoun which is reflecting back onto the subject, the cat. Similarly, you can see in the third sentence, the teacher. Teacher is the subject. Introduced is the action. Introduced whom? Herself. That means the doer, the subject, and whatever is the pronoun that is herself, they are one and the same. Action again is being reflected back onto the subject, that is the teacher. So this is a reflexive pronoun. Two more sentences again. Candy talks to herself sometimes. Whom is Candy talking to? To herself. So the same person, or I talk to myself sometimes. Similarly, be careful, don't hurt yourself. Now in this sentence, don't hurt yourself, you must be thinking there is no subject. But you remember imperative sentences that we have done, kinds of sentences, you can watch that video again. It means you don't hurt yourself. So the hidden subject that is there, you, that, and the reflexive pronoun that is there, yourself is being reflected on you. So these are the reflexive pronouns. You only need to remember that the action is reflected back on the subject. And another important thing that you can always notice in these reflexive pronouns and which you need to remember is that The reflexive pronoun that is there, that mostly comes only after the verb. Hurt is the verb, it comes after that. Okay? Now usually we say that. And another very important point to remember is that in a sentence which contains a reflexive pronoun, if you take out the reflexive pronoun or if you omit the pronoun, the sentence becomes incomplete. For example, if I say, I hurt on the broken tile, it is grammatically incorrect. I hurt what? Whom? So unless and until you write the pronoun myself, your sentence is grammatically incorrect. The cat licked itself. If you omit reflexive pronoun itself, it doesn't make any sense. The cat licked. The teacher introduced herself. Let us try to omit herself. The teacher introduced to the students. So again, it is grammatically incorrect. Now sometimes what happens, you might think, now suppose if I say the teacher introduced to the students, you may understand the meaning that whatever it is, that maybe yes, it is the teacher introducing herself. Some children could think that, some might think that the teacher introduced someone else. So meaning will be different, but grammatically these sentences will be incorrect. Okay, now remember this, especially this point that I said, that if you omit the reflexive pronoun, the sentence remains incomplete. So now that the reflexive pronoun, you know what it is, subject and action, action being reflected onto the subject itself. Let us move on to the next pronoun for the day, and they are emphatic pronouns. Now, in emphatic pronouns, all the focus, all the stress, the importance is given to the subject doing a particular action. For example, I myself baked the cake. That means I want to let everyone know that I. So I'm giving more importance to myself, focusing on myself, that I myself baked the cake. So, and this usually comes after the subject, like I myself. Mostly because we want to give stress to ourselves. Now, many a times we also say I baked the cake myself. That is also absolutely correct. But mostly and usually we always immediately place it after the subject. I, myself. So this myself that is there, that is giving more importance to the subject I. She herself checked all the documents. Checked what? The documents. And she herself, that means again giving importance that yeah, maybe the document must have been very important, and someone said, have they been checked? Yes, she herself checked the documents. So when you stress on something, when you lay focus on something, things become very important. Then, we ourselves, again, we ourselves saw him stealing the money. That means yes, we saw ourselves. Again, we are giving more importance to ourselves. We are stressing on the subject we. Similarly, the students themselves organize the event. So yes, this was something very wonderful, appreciated. We are appreciating their efforts. So by saying that they themselves, yeah, this was a big effort. And he repaired the bike himself. Again, something very good done. So laying stress, laying emphasis on he. And most importantly, if you omit or if you leave out the emphatic pronoun, it doesn't make any difference to the sentence. Like if you remember in reflexive pronoun, if you leave out the reflexive pronoun, the sentence is grammatically incorrect. But in sentences with emphatic pronouns, even if you leave out the emphatic pronoun, it doesn't make any difference. I baked the cake, fine. It's absolutely correct. But when we stress it, I myself. She checked all the documents, absolutely fine, but lay stress on it by giving her more focus. Similarly, we saw him stealing the money. Similarly, the next sentence, the students organized the event, he repaired the bike. So these are some of the major differences that will help you to identify in a given sentence whether it is reflexive or whether it is an emphatic pronoun. Action and subject, action being reflected on the subject, that is a reflexive pronoun, and laying stress on the subject, that is emphatic pronoun. Leave out the pronoun, if it makes a difference, it is reflexive. Leave out the pronoun, it doesn't make any difference, it is emphatic pronoun. So come on now, let's put this into little practice. A very small exercise for you wherein you've got some sentences and you just have to identify which pronoun is being used in which sentence. So get ready to jot down your answers. Before we discuss the answers, another very important thing that you need to remember in mind is that we never begin sentences with either reflexive pronouns or with emphatic pronouns. That means sells. We do not use these to begin our sentences. A very common error that is mostly done by, again, few people, some people, many people, we don't know, but it is usually done while introducing themselves. Myself, Rita. Himself, my brother Raj. No, you cannot say myself Rita. There you have to use the pronoun that is personal pronoun. I am Rita. He is my brother Raj. Okay, in the same way. Herself, she did the work. No, we cannot begin. So just remember, we cannot begin sentences with reflexive or with emphatic pronouns. Now yes, answer time. So let's look at the answers. The very first, she decided to sew the dress herself. Okay, so that is an emphatic pronoun because we are putting more stress focusing on she. And the pronunciation word in that sentence, S-E-W. Many a time we hear people saying sew. It's not sew, it's sew. The pronunciation is like S-O, so. So remember, whenever you see S-E-W, it's sew, sewing machine. You know the machine, it's not sewing machine, it's sewing machine. So she decided to sew the dress herself. That's an emphatic pronoun. Raju hid himself. You can see all the answers. Reflexive pronoun because again the action himself and Raju, that is being reflected. Father, yes, himself. Remove himself. Father painted the door, it's fine. But we are giving more stress to father. In the same way the other one, we enjoyed ourselves thoroughly. Reflexive pronoun, please do not blame yourself. Reflexive pronoun, the principal himself distributed the prizes and that's an emphatic pronoun. We are giving more focus, more stress, more importance to the principal. So that's it for today in these emphatic pronouns and personal pronouns. Go through it again so that your concept of reflexive and emphatic pronouns is absolutely clear. We'll have one more exercise that will be at the end of the video after you finish watching, and by now I think you know that the exercises are always there in the link in the description box. So do those exercises and watch the video again if required. Any questions, any queries, you know they're always welcome. So until we meet again with another new topic, goodbye.